I'm quoting the character Hal, who's supposed to be AI in a science fiction book written by Arthur C. Clarke in the 1960s, made into a movie. Sorry.
We need to remake that.
That would be interesting.
What movie?
2001: A Space Odyssey. You have seen it?
Well, all I remember is the monkey part.
Oh.
At the beginning.
Which is so like.
Well, Hal is that little red eye looking at Dave, and at one, well, that's a squirrel. Let's move on here. So the consequent M, let's see how it expresses it here. The consequent M, X, H, X, Y. So that's just, that represents that under these conditions, X has a moral obligation denoted by MX to perform the action of helping Y denoted by H, X, Y.
Yeah.
That,
Parentheses misplaced.
something's missing there. Maybe a conditional, or
If this was
maybe
math-
and. Maybe it should be and.
If this was math, what it's trying to say is the solution of x times h as it relates to xy. So that should be another parentheses right there.
Yeah, there should be something. In fact, the parentheses should be right after the x, because
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at.
x is the variable that is under a moral obligation. Although it's even more confused because it does have to be all in one big expression, because you only have
That's what's tripping it up, I think, and that's what I'm
you,
getting
you
around.
only have the quantifiers at the very beginning of the whole statement. Okay. Applications and limitations. Analyzing consistency by formalizing ethical principles, which no one has done as far as I know. I mean, that's, before we could get AI to do that, we have to formalize our ethical principles that we all agree on in this
That's
sociality of reason.
We have 1,000 different ways.
Well, that might be high,
Yeah.
1,000 different ways. Unless you're saying that every individual has their own point of view, which
Well, I
in the
mean,
United
I wasn't going on
States.
the individual, I was going on
Yes.
just sets of dogma that sets rules for your conduct ethically, that have been around since humanity began. It's easily in the thousands.
in actual events, of course, do we bomb a whole apartment building full of people, including women and children,
Mm-hmm.
some of whom might actually be terrorists? I mean, in fact, all of the children that are under 2 are clearly terrorists, because, well, I mean, actually 2 at the age of 2, because you say that child's a real terror. That was supposed to be funny, and then it's not, and I should erase that. Erase that. That's terrible. But you know what I mean.
Yeah.
This is happening almost on a daily basis, where Israel's IDF blows up an entire collection of people, targeting certain individuals in that group who are enemy, and their point of view is certainly deserving of being blown up, and yet they're in agreement that, well, the rest are innocent civilians. But it's not our fault that we're blowing all of those innocent civilians up.
That's a hard one.
It's the terrorist who chooses to hide in amongst the innocent civilians that is at fault for this. So if I were trying to think of the moral principle over should you bomb innocent civilians in order to kill the terrorists among them, who's going to take that moral principle on the side of the IDF? Who's going to say, you should never do that? Kant would say you should never do that. You should never kill innocent people. because there's you have to figure out a different way, right?
It comes down to moral imperative, though. It's like the trolley question. Which is more dangerous? Which is more utilitarian? That's the only way you can really answer that question. Once you bring ethics in, what you're doing is you're allowing your enemy to weaponize your morality. And when you decide that your enemy gets to weaponize your morality, they get to change the outcome of the conflict. And that's the entire point of asymmetrical warfare. That's why they do it that way.
What is the trolley question?
Oh, okay. The trolley question is kind of famous. This is a hypothetical, stupid question,
Yeah.
where you're standing on a bridge or in some proximity to a trolley track, and the trolley is coming along, and you've got a variety of possibilities here. 5 people on the track here, and they're all going to be run over by the trolley, unless you push the switch and make the trolley turn and go this way and run over a fat person over here.
A fat person?
Or a
I
violent
know, as if
Yeah.
I see.
saying, well, number one, it's 1 person instead of 5, plus she or it is fat. And you feel
I see.
offended by the way this question has been raised because, the obesity thing is certainly a real issue for us. Why would that 1 person be less deserving? But
Yeah.
this is one of those test questions that the tester presents to
It's insulting.
a group of people. Would you switch to save the 5? Yeah,
And the vice
that's
versa is, what if that 1 person was going to cure cancer, but the 5 people on the other side were all
I see.
homeless?
or you push the person. Another variant is you push
So
the
many
person
variants.
Right.
so that he falls on the trolley track and stops the trolley, and so you're still so the thing about the trolley question is you can frame it with so many different possibilities and try to measure what aspects of this problem will trigger individuals to say, yes, I would do this. Awful lot of people feel like, well, as long as I'm not involved, it's, if I push somebody or I push the switch, now I'm culpable for whatever happens. Whereas if I'm just not, I don't help, I'm not legally involved. I'm an onlooker, which may or not be true.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a neat,
It's a whole nother.
a whole neat question. What
I think
possibilities
the point
there
of
are.
it, though, is to raise the question, what is the value of a life? And
Yeah.
make you consider that.
And what is fat?
Mhm.
I am fat. I'm sure of it. So would you push me over would I jump?
Mm.
If I'm standing there and I'm next to you and instead of you pushing me, I should feel obligated to jump and save those 5 people.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, I might miss and just kill 6 people, I mean, there's lots of ethical dilemmas that are posed by different authors trying to express a certain point, and test. So that's the trolley question.
Yeah, I think I've heard it before.
It's pretty crazy.
So analyzing consistency by formalizing ethical principles, predicate logic can help us see if various ethical principles are consistent with each other. Okay, yes. Yeah, because once you put them all into the computer will tell you, oops, if you do this and you say we should do this, you're going to have this conflict. Zzz, bad news for you. Exploring implications, predicate logic allows us to deduce specific obligations or ethical conclusions from general principles. For example, if we know that someone meets the conditions for the beneficence principle, we can logically conclude that they are obligated to help. I mean, this is, do you tithe? Do you send money to different things, you know. Plus, what does it mean to say that it doesn't cause harm to you?
You know, it's.
You know,
it's
if
kind
you
of
send $10 to somebody to help them, and then you go to the pharmacy to pick up the prescription that you need to stop by and pick up for your wife, and you can't get it, and you get home and she slaps you for it, you know. No, she doesn't slap. But yeah, where does the harm come from?
I think this.
Significant.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, it's significant harm, I think that means like, you know,
You know, what's
I don't
significant?
know, I don't know where the line is, but.
Every day,
we're interpreting.
I feed 2 dogs
Mhm.
with more food than I'd say at least 8% of the world's human population have to eat.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think what's interesting about it is it's kind of a cop-out, because predicate logic really can't simplify ethics. And so what it's doing is saying, so long as your values meet X, then you are obliged to whatever, so long as X is that set of values. So if I think it's important to vote, then I have to vote. I'm obliged to. But if I don't think it's important to vote, then I'm obliged not to. By that same logic.
Mm. So anyone could do anything.
It's a
you know.
value-dependent X.
Well, you know, we're actually blessed by living in a country that Hegel predicted would be the country that took freedom into the next stage.
Right.
He actually said that
Yeah.
in one of his texts. And this is in 1820 something, he said that. Which, I mean, the United States hadn't even gotten,
A foot up.
you know, very far yet. It's in their news, of course. You know, they have a constitution, you know, and they have a democratic republic,
Right.
which must have been an exciting possibility, you know,
Especially at that time.
compared to, yeah, oh yeah. Hegel and his friends planted a liberty tree in Tübingen, and that idea came from each of the 13 colonies planting a liberty tree, which some of them are still alive, by the way,
I didn't know that.
and you know, kind of revered. You know, one of them, I think it was in Tennessee, was like damaged by someone, and that upset the whole town and everything. I mean, they deliberately damaged it, you know.
Oh,
So,
it was done on purpose.
oh yeah,
Why?
a tree, you know. Well, limitations. Predicate logic simplifies moral principles. But that probably means that it misunderstands them.
That's what I'm saying. It's not simplifying
Yeah.
anything. It's
Yeah.
It's a cop out. It's going around them.
In fact, our typical difficulty is we get together and we discuss them and we find ways of making them even more complex.
Right.
Remember the line that philosophy muddies the waters.
Yes.
You know this. You know, I can see to the bottom. I'll let me muddy it for you. Oh, it looks a lot deeper. You know, it's a great expression, I think. Especially with moral principles. I mean,
Yeah. It's messy.
man, you know, how do you, you know, like the example I picked, you know, terrible situation, you know, the way the Israeli the IDF, Israeli Defense Force, has been handling Hamas. I mean, you know, these are people that have as their avowed policy the total destruction of Israel. That's and Hezbollah, which means, I believe, the party of God, has the same obligation, in a sense. If you're a member of Hezbollah, you believe that Israelis should be. There was a news item just yesterday that I read that said that a Jewish Iranian man in Iran had been in a bar fight, and he had been stabbed by a another person in the bar. Do they have bars in Iran? That doesn't sound right. Coffee shop, maybe.
Yeah.
But in any case, he killed the other guy in self-defense. Well, he was just hung because the other man that he killed in self-defense was a Muslim.
Yeah.
And in that country, individuals that are not Muslim are not allowed
Right.
to harm a Muslim person, even in self-defense. It's against the law. And so he was just hung, which, of course, they have a moral principle there, you know, Muslims first.
The punishment there for being an atheist is to be thrown off a building.
Is it? That sounds...
Yeah.
Well, we did pick a question that talks about using predicate logic to discuss moral principles or ethical principles. So, ChatGPT then concludes, some of the things we've talked about here. What is significant harm, as you said?
What is significant harm?
It's again value dependent.
Just a few minutes ago, Maeve, I think you said, what do you mean by significant, right?
Yeah.
Didn't you say
I
that?
don't know. Yeah, I
Yeah.
did, but
But I think she meant it in a different context. I don't want to.
Well, the complexities of significant
yeah.
is what I'm looking at here, whether it's harm or help. $10 might not help, a community